What is Eternum? That depends on you.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back for another video on my channel. Today's video is going to be the hatchet. The hatchet requires strength as your primary attribute. I can technically use my current build that I have for my great axe for my hatchet, so your damage will scale the higher your strength is. You got two trees, berserker and throwing. Throwing is what it says, throwing. You're throwing your hatchet. Your abilities will revolve around you throwing your hatchet. You don't need to worry about ammunition. Your hatchet is unlimited. You just need one. It'll come back to you magically. Surprise. So you don't need to worry about ammunition for your throwing tree. This is for ranged. If you want to go like a ranged direction with your hatchet, you can. Berserker tree is what it says. Berserker, you want to go crazy, you want to go ham, you want to chop people up, you go berserker. This is the melee portion. Now, right off the bat, we're going to go off the three abilities. You've got Berserk, you've got Feral Rush, you've got Raging Torrent. Berserk makes you deal 20% more damage while it's active. It will be active for 15 seconds. The cooldown will trigger for the ability when it ends. So it's not going to count while you're doing it. It's going to cool down after it finishes. Your next ability is going to be Feral Rush, a sprinting melee attack that causes the player to leap forward, hitting twice. The first hit deals 115% weapon damage. The second hit deals 130% weapon damage. So overall, this ability will cause 245% weapon damage. It is very strong on a fairly short cooldown, only 11 seconds. And this is a really good ability for gap closing or for getting away. You can use this in any direction. It'll give you a little distance or close a little bit of distance while doing damage at the same time. Your Raging Torrent is an ability that's on a 15-second cooldown, so medium-sized cooldown, performing 4 fast attacks, dealing 90% weapon damage. So basically, you're doing your normal light attacks at a fast pace, but you're dealing 10% less than what you normally would. You're trading off attack speed for attack damage. You're doing more damage with this ability. The reason why this is an ability is because the 4 attacks you're doing is within a short period of time that you normally wouldn't be able to do with your regular light attacks. So you're dealing more damage faster is what it's trying to get across. This is a really good ability to combo if you're in rage or if you're in berserk and you started off with Feral Rush. You run in there, you're berserked, you jump on them, you hit both the hits, you light attack, and then you press Raging Torrent while you're still berserk. You're still getting that 20% bonus damage from being in a berserk on each individual hit. So now you're dealing 110%. So now you're dealing more damage than your normal light attacks, way faster than your normal light attacks. So that's really how you want to use this. It's kind of combo it with Berserk. As you can see, Berserk has the exact same cooldown as this ability. So you want to combo this with Berserk. Now going down the individual passives. The first one connected to Berserk is increased movement speed while in Berserk, on the hunt. You're getting 20% extra movement speed while you're in Berserk. Moving fast while you're on Berserk, that's really good. That's really, really good. You can catch stuff, you can run away from stuff much quicker while you're Berserk. Berserking Refresh is your next passive on Berserk passive tree. While Berserk is active, you gain a portion of your health back every 5 seconds. The amount of health gained increases by how long Berserk has active. You're going to get health back just by being in Berserk every 5 seconds. That's really, really good. That right there is a survivability, right? Any of these builds you're going to see, you want to prioritize survivability if you're dying, right? That's the reason why it's called survivability. This ability is for people who are having trouble staying alive. Your next passive, Berserking Purge. Triggering Berserk removes all crowd control effects, stuns, slows, roots from the player. If you are stuck, if you are stunned, if you are slowed, if you are rooted, and you berserk, you break free of all chains. You run crazy. That's what that means. Highly recommend for PvP, because if you're getting stunned, slowed, or rooted, you berserk while you're stuck, and then you run them down. They can't do anything about it. You're in their face now. Next ability is going to be uninterruptible berserk. While you're in Berserk, your attacks are uninterruptible. You cannot be staggered. Every video I take and do about build guides, grit and not being staggered and uninterruptible abilities are always going to be the most broken thing in this game, the most prioritized passives and abilities in this game, because being able to do your ability or do more damage without being stopped is going to be the #1 way to put out the DPS that you need to. So uninterruptible Berserk is extremely valuable. I would highly suggest prioritizing getting that. As you see what I'm doing right now, as I continue to level up the weapon, I'm going to prioritize getting uninterruptible Berserk, because anything I do while I'm Berserk is uninterruptible. You can't stop. Now, your next ability is Feral Rush. First passive is Dispatch. If the target is below 30% health, your Feral Rush deals 20% more damage. Basically gives you like a tiny execute. If they're under 30% health, you're dealing 20% more damage with Feral Rush. So that 245% damage now is more increased if you're attacking something or chasing something down that's about to die. Crippling Strikes is the next one on that tree. If Feral Rush hits a target in the back, it causes a root, immobilizing that target for 2 seconds. Aggressive Approach. Hitting a target with Raging Torrent grants haste, increasing movement speed by 20% for 6 seconds. You're moving faster for 6 seconds if you hit somebody with this ability. Final Blow. Press light attack at the end of Raging Torrent to deal final attack, dealing 120% weapon damage. So now it's 4 fast attacks plus a 5th attack that does 120% weapon damage. It gives you an extra 120% weapon damage. It already does 90% times 4. Now you're doing an extra 120% for slotting that. Priority, get that ability. We're going to go down the passives really quickly that aren't connected to abilities. First, we have Enraged Strikes. If a target is below 30% health, light and heavy attacks deal 20% more damage. Another little execute. It's like this one from Dispatch, or it's like this one on Feral Rush, dealing more damage at a certain percent health. It's a very good ability to have. I would slot this if you have some extra points available after getting the points in your abilities. I would definitely slot that. Your other one would be Accumulated Power. After 3 successful light attacks against the same target, you gain Empower, granting 30% damage increase for 3 seconds or until the next attack. So it allows you to give yourself a 30% damage buff after hitting 3 light attacks on the same person for that one attack. It's a really good ability to have. You deal a bonus amount of damage after you hit the same target multiple times on the 4th hit. I would slot this. Very good to have for DPS. Relentless Fury is your next passive. After successful heavy attack, gain Empower, granting 30% damage increase for 3 seconds or after 4 attacks. This is really good because now you're getting a damage increase buff after heavy attacking. Anything increasing damage is going to be useful for DPS, so I would slot this. Desperate Refresh is your next passive ability. All cooldowns are reduced by 2% when hitting an enemy with an attack while your HP is below 30%. So this ability is really good to have if you are having cooldown problems, if you don't know how to manage your abilities and you're stuck without an ability. This is really good to give you a slight boost on your cooldowns to kind of help them come back faster against all odds. Increases base damage by 10% for every enemy within 5 meters of the player. There is so much potential for this passive. Let me tell you why. It is 10% increase of damage for every enemy within 5 meters of the player. If you are in PvE and you're going in a dungeon and there's like 6 or 7 enemies around you, you have 70% or 60%, however many, 10% for each one, damage base increase. That is absolutely ridiculously strong. Slot this ASAP. Even for PvP, this is useful because if you're getting ganked by multiple people, you're getting a damage increase bonus for every one of them. So very, very important ability. Slot this ASAP. Fortifying Strikes. Hitting the same target with 3 light attacks grants Fortify, increasing damage absorption by 15% for 3 seconds. This is a survivability passive. Anything that increases defense, increases health, gives you health back is for survivability. If you have trouble living, get the ability. If you don't have trouble living, if you know how to dodge roll, if you know how to manage your abilities and manage your potions, etc., don't get the ability. Use that point for something else. Lastly, on this tree, the final passive is going to be Frenzied Purge. When hitting an enemy while your health is below 30%, removing all bleed, burn, poison dot effects from the player, 60-second cooldown. Your final ultimate passive, which we're going to go over right now, is Defy Death. When you receive lethal damage, avoiding death reduced to 50 HP and you gain immortality. You're immortal for 3 seconds on a 75-second cooldown when you're about to die. Ultimate passive, focus on getting that as soon as possible. You get a 3-second immortal time frame, 3 seconds immortality on a 75-second cooldown. So now we're going to showcase the abilities. Your Q is Berserk. You always want to use it as soon as possible. It'll give you that damage buff. It'll give you the movement speed buff. As you can see, I have that blue aura. That aura is my Berserk. I have 5 seconds of it left. Now what I'm going to showcase is the leap. Down, down. So you do 2 hits on your leap. Very efficient ability. And finally, we're going to showcase the F key, which is going to be your multiple attack. So I won't even light attack. F, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, given the fact that that enemy is much lower than me, it's still a very strong ability because you can maneuver that ability with your auto attacks right off the bat, right? So if I am Berserk, not only will that deal more damage, I can auto and then do that as well. So now I'm doing more damage. I'm weaving the ability. So next, we're going to start off with Rending Throw. You throw your axe, dealing 110% weapon damage and applying a rend, which reduces the enemy's damage by 10% for 10 seconds. Second ability, Social Distancing. Throw an axe forward and dodge backwards, dealing 130% weapon damage and slowing targets by 15% for 3 seconds. Infected Throw, you'll throw your axe, dealing 150% weapon damage, massive amounts of damage. It's the highest damage on all your abilities. And you'll trigger Disease and Weakness. Disease reduces the target's healing by 30%. Weakness reduces the target's damage by 10%. All 3 of your abilities are throwing abilities, hence the throwing tree. We're going to go down the passives connected to the abilities now. Target Impact is connected to Rending Throw, so your first ability you'll unlock. Target Impact basically increases the rend to 15% from 10% if the target is 8 meters from you. So if they're further, you'll do 15% rend, which means they'll do 15% less damage for 10 seconds if they're far away from you and you hit them with it. Opportunistic is the next ability on this tree. Rending Throw deals an additional 20% damage if the target already has a debuff. You can combo that with your Social Distancing or your Infected Throw. So if you start with either one of those abilities first and you throw your Rending Throw, your Q, your first ability, you will deal 20% more damage if they already have a debuff on them. Second Wind is a passive connected to that tree. The final passive that says using Rend Throw on a target with an active debuff reduces the ability's cooldown by 20%. Another reason why you want to start with Social Distancing or start with Infected Throw and then hit that same person that's got a debuff on him with the Rending Throw, the axe, their Q, and you'll reduce your ability cooldown by 20%. So flat 20% reduction every time you do that. Really important. Really, really important. I would slot all 3 of those as soon as possible. The next ability is your Social Distancing. The first passive is going to be player movement speed is increased to 30% for 3 seconds if the ability hits a target with an active debuff. If you hit them with either one of your other abilities that cause a debuff, so slow or rend or disease or weakness, and you hit them with your Social Distancing second, you'll get 30% player movement speed, so you'll move fast. Stay Back is your final passive connected to that tree. Slow movement speed effects are increased to 25% for 4 seconds. So for 4 seconds, the movement speed effects are increased to 25%. So that 15% slow that you get initially is now increased to 25%, and instead of 3 seconds, it's now 4. Your third ability is first passive is going to be Mortal Power, increases the duration of disease and weakness to 8 seconds on a target below 30% health. That's very, very good. I would slot that as soon as possible. You're basically increasing the duration of the 5 seconds. You're adding 3 more seconds, making them weaker, and not allowing them to heal for that extra 3 seconds is going to be crucial for you. Slot that ASAP. Good for PvE and good for PvP. Your Aerial Transmission creates a 3-meter disease AoE on impact that lingers in place for 3 seconds. So now when you throw your axe, not only is it doing what it initially does, it'll leave behind a cloud of poison, basically, that will cause disease. Now we're going to go down the passive that aren't connected to abilities. Aimed Throw replaces your block with an aimed throw that deals 95% weapon damage, holding right mouse button to enter aim stance. Each throw consumes 20 stamina, so now you no longer can block, but you can throw your weapon much more than you could already. So if you auto attack while in the throwing tree, you'll do a melee. The only way you actually throw your weapon is by your abilities, But if you have this slotted, you can now throw your hatchet without using an ability. You can throw it, but you'll use your stamina. So you have 100 stamina. Each throw will consume 20 stamina. Your next passive is going to be critical throw. Your thrown axes are now capable of triggering a headshot or a random critical hit. Also increases critical hit chance above all attacks by 5%. This will allow you to do more damage a lot faster because your thrown axes are now capable of triggering a random critical hit or headshot. Next ability, on fire. Every third successful thrown axe is a guaranteed crit. That is beyond good. But like every third successful thrown axe is a guaranteed crit. So if you combo that with your aim throw, which will allow you to throw your weapon with your stamina, you will throw 3, and on the third weapon on the third hatchet you throw is a guaranteed critical hit. Rejuvenating crits, successful crit hits with light attacks or aim throws regenerates 10 stamina. If you slot all 3 of these, right? Because rejuvenating crits, all it does is it allows you to regenerate your stamina every time you crit with a aim throw or a light attack. You have all 3 of these slotted and you have your aim throw slotted. These 3 combo with this one. So your aim throw will allow you to use your stamina to throw your weapon, and these 3 will combo with that. This will allow you to basically utilize the throwing of the hatchet to the max. And you'll be able to regenerate your stamina quickly. Next is refreshing throws. Thrown hatchets against targets when active debuff reduces cooldowns by 5%, and that's all cooldowns. So that's really good because if you threw any of your abilities, they all apply some type of debuff, and then you hit that target, you'll reduce all your cooldowns. So all 3 of these abilities will get reduced by 5% while they're waiting to be used. Next is your exploitation. All attacks deal 15% additional damage to targets with an active debuff. That combos with literally everything you do that applies a debuff. That's 15% flat additional damage. Very useful, very important to have. Next is your adrenaline rush. Dodging within 6 seconds of triggering an ability consumes 25% less stamina. Boot and rally. Light attacks and aim throws regenerate 10 stamina when hitting targets with an active debuff. Once again, another ability that combos with your active debuffs. If you hit any of these abilities, you'll have an active debuff on the enemy. Light attacks and your aim throws will give you 10 stamina when hitting targets. So that's another stamina regeneration ability, same as your rejuvenating crits. So if you combo all of these, will allow you to keep throwing your weapon more. Persistent hindrance is your final passive. Successful throwing axe hits extends all hatchet debuff duration by 30%. And all these debuffs that you have on them, every time you throw an axe, you're extending it. You're extending it if you hit that same one. So you're extending it. So once again, all these passives in this tree are extremely useful because they all combo. Anything that affects debuffs or has debuffs in its description is going to be extremely useful for any of your abilities. And then anything else is going to either be for survivability or for your aimed throw, critical throw, on fire. All these abilities right here are going to directly affect that. And then all the passives that affect cooldowns and debuffs are going to affect your abilities. We're going to showcase the abilities now. So if you start with your Q is the Rend. Rend makes the enemy deal less damage. So Rend. R is your throw and jump back with the slow. And F is your disease. As you can see, he is now diseased. He has that cloud around him and light attack. It's that simple. That's going to be it for today's video, guys. Really working hard to get this content out for you guys. If you guys want to see something specific, or if you guys want me to go over something in a more detailed manner or a more slowed paced manner, make sure you let me know in the comments below. I really do like making these videos. If you guys want to see me fail or do these videos live on Twitch, make sure you go follow my Twitch at Theatrics, or click on my Twitch link in any of my bios. I really do appreciate all the views. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more content in the future or keep up with the channel. Thank you guys for watching my channel.